الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون صدق الله العظيم.
About 20 years ago, maybe 22, I realized that everything in Quran is wholly scientific, meaning any meaning it can have, all of them are scientific meaning. If you take this surah, only surah that is named after cow, right?
Yes.
So you think literal meaning would be, or there's a story of a cow, right? Good Israel. But deeper one meaning would be, cow is the most useful animal.
Yes.
The most useful animal. There is nothing about cow that is wasted. When you talk about, this is how it came to me, when you talk about zero waste engineering, and I have 2 books on that. You have those books. Allah is giving us a live example of zero waste. There is nothing wasted of the cow. Everything is used. And it produces what? The most wholesome food. It's the milk. New science tells us all kind of nonsense about milk. And now vegans don't drink milk. And they said, it's cow's food and we're invading their right. Those are all nonsense. So I thought, because of Ramadan, we should, personally, you should all study. You see, Ramadan practice is to recite Quran, which is wonderful. And some people say we should finish the Quran. Okay, I don't object to that. But study Surah Baqarah, because Surah Baqarah has everything. Just like cow, everything is there. Every rule, I can point out any question you want, you can find the answer in Surah Baqarah. Because it is the executive summary of the Quran. There is nothing that is missing. Because it is source. So that's why I thought we start off with today. But the message I have, because today we were supposed to talk about Akhlaq before we delve into economics. If you just look at this surah, Alif Lam Mim, right? Nobody knows the meaning. Somebody whose intention is to create facade, they said, what is this? This is the longest surah and it starts off with Alif Lam Mim. Is this a joke? What is the meaning? So we don't know. How about your prophet? He doesn't know. So what? He brought a book and he's telling something that he doesn't know? So what kind of nonsense is that? You see how totally misguided. Same fact. If you are Mu'min, if you have Iman, you say, Subhanallah. Must be true, because even Prophet is saying he doesn't know. That means, why would you bring something, make up, and say, I don't know? This is proof that it is from Allah. Bad guys would take that as a proof that this is nonsense. What is the difference? Intention. That's the first one. We started off this class with the role of intention. We start off today, the beginning of economics, with the role of intention. And that was a chapter in our economics book. You can see that, role of intention. Nobody talked about, before us, nobody talked about role of intention when it comes to technology, or definitely not on economics. It was detached for last 400 years. So here, this book, Allah is saying this book has no doubt. There's no doubt. Yet, first it started off with Alif Lam Mim, then it's going to telling us it has no doubt. There is no room for confusion. Very clear. And what is it guide for? Who is it guide for? Not for random people. It's not guide for James Watt and Newton or Einstein or their slaves. It's guide for, Allah is very clear. There is no confusion. It's guide for Muttaqi. First thing you need to know, what is Muttaqi? And we'll see that today. Muttaqi is not somebody who fears Allah, because Allah does not start with fear. We said Allah starts with love. Allah is not scary, but it's wrongly translated as fear. It's not fear. It's, you know what taqwa means? When you have very clean clothes and you're walking on mud, aren't you careful? Very careful. Are you fearing mud? No. I want to protect the good. So it's not I'm fearing Allah. I want to protect my love for Allah. I don't want anything to mess up. I don't want to displease Him. That's taqwa. And this is guide for them. It's the same in science. You will not be guided unless you have taqwa. Another point to see here talks about Gaib. Gaib, this is the word we could not see. First book, economics book, this is the economics of intangibles. We could not find a proper term in Arabic, in English, to describe Gaib. We came up with intangible. This is the first book ever in economics talks about economics of intangibles. This is what we meant. Things that we cannot see. So who is the most Gaib? We will not see in this life.
Allah.
Allah.
Jannah and Jannah.
Right?
Yeah.
Only time we get to see Him if you go to heaven. If you don't, then it's done. He remains Gaib for us. What is next in terms of Gaib?
Jannah.
Malaik.
Jannah.
Malaik, right? But each of us, our past and future is Gaib. The time function. See, what is visible right now? I see my hand, but it's past now. that time function is gone.
Ah.
It's also what is invisible is the future. You cannot see. So time function literally is the guide. What time function starts with? Allah. What time function ends with? Also Allah. See, because time is a creation. We're not talking about capital T, as Allah said himself, that I am the time, absolute time. Every culture has it. We're talking about the time function that is creation of Allah. So you see that, that's very important. And this time function, continuous time function, is extremely important for seeking knowledge. For everything, and we'll see that repeatedly, for seeking knowledge, you have to know the time function. If you do not, then you don't know anything. I said on time that knowledge is in history, and history is time function. Next, it defines what is Muflihun. Anybody knows the meaning of Muflihun?
الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون.
Yeah. So those are the guys.
Actual meaning is
Muflihun, the word Muflihun, what does it mean?
Successful.
Yeah.
Success.
Yeah.
The definition of success is those things.
Believing in Allah.
That's the definition of success. How often? Yesterday, one of the YouTuber was asking, somebody asked a question that I have a very important exam coming up, right? Very important. I don't want to fail. Can I skip Ramadan? See, his definition of success is passing the exam. In exchange, he was going to sacrifice the big exam, big success. We do that all the time. You compromise the real aim, real goal for little gains. Then comes the very important one. Innal ladzina kafaru. People, when they say, "Oh, Allah is talking about kafir," right? It's not, doesn't apply to us because I'm not one of those. Is it true? How many times Allah has said, Bani Israel, kufr, did kufr. I closed it. Last day we recited Surah Baqarah 88. It said, Qulubna Gulf. Our heart is sealed. And said Allah said, no. Because of your kufr, I have sealed it. He's talking about Bani Israel. Who are today's Bani Israel? It's us. Allah also says in Surah Bayana, Innal ladzina kafaru min ahlil kitab wal mushrikin. So from ahlil kitab, those who kafir, who did kufr, they're going to be in hell forever. So who is today's ahlil kitab?
No.
Who has the kitab?
Jews and Christians.
They don't have the book. Their book is not real at all.
No,
We are the only one who has the book.
just
They don't have the book. Not one line of Injil exists today. Not one line of Torah exists today. So we have the book. So if you look at it, so Allah is talking about Ahl Kitab, and it's not me. Would you get the message? Now, what is the point? That's why Quran cannot be studied superficially. You have to say, what does it mean? You have to see the equivalence. And the moment you pick up a hadith, what Prophet said, we know that we will be following Bani Israel step by step. That thought will come to you. Subhanallah, Allah is talking to me. So even my intention, the moment we are vulnerable to committing kufr, and if we do that, Allah is talking about me. That's when it becomes useful. And what does Allah say? Doesn't matter if you give them dawah, talk, bring all the evidence, they are not going to change their mind. They're done. Because their intention is to kufr. Samayna wa shayna. That group has no hope. So I close that, but let's make an agreement that during Ramadan you will study
Inshallah.
scientifically
Yes.
the whole. I have tried to memorize and have been trying for a long time. I'm up to 220 verse I've memorized. It's a good idea to memorize it because all the things comes from your mind. I inspired my son to do that, and he ended up memorizing a lot bigger, faster than me, and he finished the whole Quran. And I'm still in Surah Bakar trying to memorize. But it's very useful exercise. Today, we talk about, last class I said we should talk about Akhlaq before we talk about economics. So Akhlaq, footprint and zulm. So you say, what footprint has to do? Footprint is a Western term, right? We want to minimize our footprint, and that's the new thing. For sustainability, you have to minimize your footprint. You don't want to leave your footprint behind. So minimize waste, minimize everything. That's the Western thing. So I see that in one sentence. They are all coupled together. Akhlaq, what is Akhlaq? The factory setting. What Allah sent us with. The things that we already have. The Akhlaq of this computer does everything fast. The computer is very fast. Right? That's the factory setting. If you pour water on it, is the factory setting valid anymore? It's gone. Us, we're supposed to be Khalifa of Allah. Khalifa is a very big job. And we're supposed to go back to him, and he promised us heaven in return of our service. Right? But if we pour water on the computer, we are not going to compete anymore. It will be burnt. Who is pouring water in our Akhlaq? Shaitan. Non-stop. So you have to be vigilant. That's what the idea of taqwa is. Constantly vigilant. So my God, I don't want to fall into another trap. Footprint, and this hadith, we talked about that you have to do qasd even when you're using river water to make wuzu. So whatever you have available doesn't matter. You might be a billionaire, you might be dirt poor, your action should be depending on your intention. Qasd is a literal dynamic intention. And sure enough, in Arabic language, iktisad is what? Economics. See, qasd is related to economics. So in Islam, economics is all about your intention. In Western economics is anything but intention. Intention does not matter. You see how they are different completely? We'll talk about that more. Anytime you have deviated from your akhlaq, you have oppressed somebody. I'll give you a simple example. What is the akhlaq of entering a house?
To knock the door.
Knock the door, Assalamu alaikum, 3 times.
Assalamu.
And what happens if he doesn't reply?
You should leave.
You should leave. That's the akhlaq, right? What if you enter?
That's not
Yeah.
You're violating the right.
Yeah.
You're doing zulm.
Exactly.
So zulm literally has a meaning in Arabic. It means misplacing. It's not your job. It's not your place. You cannot sneak. It's not your place. So by definition, you're doing zulm the moment you're deviating. Now, who will be affected by it? Can you affect somebody else by doing zulm? Because his qadr is fixed, right? That you cannot affect.
Salaman.
Can you affect his long term? No. Can you affect his short term? No. Because it's part of qadr. Long term is part of his intention. You cannot affect those. So what are you affecting? Indeed yourself. Your future is the only one you're affecting. Because you will end up going to hell. That's why Allah said they did not zulm anybody, but they zulm on themselves. That's a fact. Western perspective of economics, Iqtisad is Islamic perspective. Western perspective, right there, is root word, Greek root word, it means household management. So economics is not about making money, it's managing your house. The original meaning was good. Isn't it true? I'm making wuzu. What that has to do with economics? It has to do with me. Right? So household man is correct. But what happens? The word economize, it was introduced by the British. Every bad word, that's why I say English is the language of shaitan. Every bad word is introduced by, this is not, economize is not Greek anymore. It is now English. Centuries ago they introduced economize. What does it mean? Govern a household. Thrift. You know what thrift means? Saving money. It has nothing to do with intention. It has nothing to do with managing the household. It has to do control. You see the word control? Controlling. And that's how optimization became maximizing functionality. It turned out it becomes maximizing profit. That's the rule for economics in Western society. What is our goal in economics? Pleasing Allah, Iqtisad, Qasad, intention. What is their goal? To maximize profit. Who becomes happy if you make money? Money God. That's why I said their economics is the economics of money God. That's not our ilah.
In one hadith of Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said that al-iqtisadu fi al-nafaqati nisfu al-ma'ishati. It means that iqtisad managing expenses is
half of iman.
al-iqtisadu fi al-nafaqati nisfu al-ma'ishati
half of
is
iman.
half of life.
It absolutely makes sense. Because it starts with that. That's why I said this is the most important topic, both in Western society as well as in Islam. Very important.
It means that iqtisad means to manage your expenses and not do israf.
Exactly. Preventing, you see that? Preventing waste is the key.
Yes.
That's why I said zero waste, zero interest. This exactly opposite to the Western economics. In Western, we'll see that.
Inshallah.
Western economics, more you waste, more you flourish. I estimated cost of Iraq invasion. They estimate it as $1.2 trillion. Right? That increased the GDP of US. So it was success. What is the human cost? Human cost alone is $2.5 trillion. Is
I also estimated the invasion of Afghanistan in 2001. It cost $2.13 trillion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. I did not bring. I did not do that slide, but I was going to include it. Imagine their estimate. According to them, it was 1.3 in Iraq, and that boosted the economy. It's good, but what is the damage they did? They created facade. They created in Iraq alone 1.3 million killed. So if you even talk about body parts, body parts is $2 million per person. Even in body parts. In Islam, if you kill one, you kill the whole humanity. But according to them, kidney, heart, the cost of those body parts, 2 million per person. So with their calculation, you can show they're dead wrong. But that's what they do. They increase waste. That is the key. So they are completely opposite. This is what it shows here. Economics, sustainable economics is zero interest, zero waste. And we'll talk about how it is possible to do zero waste, because that's the next topic. For those guys, the economics after post-Newton, it's exactly opposite. You maximize your waste. Your economy depends on interest. There is no interest-free economy. It doesn't exist. They said we cannot even calculate. So from the beginning to the end, there is nothing in common in Western economy and Islamic. There is nothing. And sure enough, that's what we call unsustainable economy. After that, everything, because first question they ask is, how is the economy? How much money you make? Every project, that's the first question asked. What is the profitability? In Islam, what is the first question you ask? Is it halal?
Haram.
Yes. For them, it doesn't matter. Even you can invade a country because you're making money. We said the most important aspect of Iman was the intention. Expression of Iman is in Akhlaq. From reaction. For instance, somebody does not knock the door, just comes in. Do you have to wonder if he has Iman or not? No, it's done. Munafiqs, repeatedly, Munafiqs' action tell you they have zero Iman. You don't have to tell them. Nobody's crazy. In Western society, there is a term that you cannot plead ignorant. You cannot say, I did not know the rule. You're driving fast and you said, well, I'm a villager, I did not know it's 50 miles an hour. No, that's not an excuse. That's why in Islam, it's obligatory to know seek knowledge. So you cannot say, Wallahi, I did not know, I just entered the house because I'm a Bedouin. That's not an excuse. You have to seek knowledge. So your action is the expression of your Iman. So when somebody reverts to Islam, non-Muslim, you see that law after 9/11, it became like a big thing. Everybody, thousands are converting to Islam, reverting. If the word is reverting, meaning what? You are getting back to your factory setting. Revert. You're not going anywhere else. You're going back. So literally you're saying that I want to go back there, to the honey standard. Early scholars had no confusion about this. They were actually using iman and intentions simultaneously. And as you know from first hadith of book of Bukhari, that our good deed is the expression of our intention. Right. Very first hadith. So early scholars knew that. They alternatively, they used like simultaneously. Having iman is doing things with good intention. If you're not, then you're not acting on iman. You are acting on kufr. Later on, the concept of aqidah was introduced. And that was inspired by this word in English, nowadays we know, belief.
Belief, yeah.
Belief is not real. Does shaitan believe? Does shaitan believe that Allah is the creator? Of course he does. He knows. What is there to believe? Can you kufr? The term kufr is in English is translated as disbelief. Does it make sense? How can you disbelieve something? At no time shaitan had any illusion that Allah is not the creator. Pharaoh knew that Allah is the creator. Still they were claiming to be Rabb. He did not say I created, but he wants to disobey. He wants to control. Rabb means what? Whoever takes care of you.
What about faith or having faith?
Same thing. Same thing. Those are mistranslations imported from Europe. It was introduced, belief was introduced first, faith the same way, religion the same way. It's imported. Trust, exactly. That's iman. They were imported from Europe, from Roman Catholic Church. That's RCC. And they have no meaning. The word a phenomenal, remember we used to talk about it? It has no relevance, no meaning. It's absurd. Akhlaq is opposite to kufr and nifaq. Opposite. So Prophet has given a very good, very useful hadith there. Talks about the features of munafiq. You must remember that.
إذا حدث كذب إذا وعد أخلف إذا اؤتمن خان.
Right.
وإذا خصم فجر.
Yes, that's right. When they talk, they lie. So how do you know they're lying? Right? If you're trying to say something that is illogical, in Arabic there is a very good thing, that is illogical, you quickly know that you're lying. So otherwise, right away, you're correct. When I point it out, that is still illogical. But you stick to lies. If you're trying to do something that is against akhlaq, you're lying. Now if you catch you and you try to justify, you're doing kufr on top. You're going down further. And when you start to argue that, who are you to talk about this? That means the last feature of munafiq. When they argue viciously. So, personal level, when I make an agreement that I'll see you at 11 o'clock, that's an agreement, isn't it? If I fail, am I not violating it? A trait of munafiq would be, I don't care. That's what? What do you call them? Ghafil. Is ghafil any better? No. You cannot be ghafil in life. You have to be constantly aware. So, from little things, why are little things important? Because little things pile up. Remember the hadith about the priest? Small, one step at a time. Then at the end he dies in a state of sujood. Prophet said, if you make one small sin and you continue that sin, it becomes big. So much that every sin puts a dot on your heart. At the end, heart becomes rigid. What does it mean? Heart cannot turn anymore. Heart's natural trait is to turn. Qalb means turning. So it doesn't turn anymore. It becomes rigid. Only small sins, because he tolerated them. That's how Shaitan invades you. So even if you say, I'm supposed to come to this class at 11 o'clock, right? And so what? I'll repeatedly come at 11:05 or sometimes miss it. You're violating the agreement. So be aware of this, little things. So many times this is the place I've heard the phrase that, are you talking about English time or Afghan time? Did you hear this before? English time means precise, Afghan time means whatever. Is that a good thing? I've learned it here from Afghan people. So, oh brother, what are you talking about? I said, somebody told me they're coming at 11 o'clock and I'm waiting outside, right? So, what are you talking about? They don't follow English time. I said, subhanallah. English is the one became non-munafiq and we have become munafiq. We do not honor our agreement. So we have to be aware, because once you become ghafil, Shaitan takes control over you.
One thing to mention in my mind, that we have two types of munafiq. One is munafiq of Aqidah, that at the time which Prophet, peace be upon him, was alive, by wahya.
I know. He had a list of the munafiqs.
These things are the munafiq of actions. It's the actions of munafiq.
You see, this is the thing. Once you get into the academic discussion, then we're in trouble.
No, just for...
I know, the reason I'm saying that, because if you think, see, if you hate me, right away say, Dr. Islam calls that munafiq. You see how you're doing zulm? Do you see the point? And you go talk to the imam and talk to the other people, say, Dr. Islam calls us munafiq. Is that akhlaq?
No.
Even if you thought he called you, what is the akhlaq?
To be patient.
No, to be talking to me first.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? And even if I say that yes, you are munafiq, right? Can you go talk to somebody else in my absence?
No.
No, you take me along and say, brother, come with me. You call me munafiq, I want justice. You see, that's akhlaq. So you
Good
cannot.
behaviors.
That's right. That's the procedure. That's why repeatedly what it has to do with research, because that's the research methodology you're talking about. You want justice, right? Even if I'm wrong, you have to tell me first. The lady, when Umar told us that we are putting a limit on mahr, she did not go out and started a fitna. She confronted him. To his credit, he accepted right away. Do you know any leader today that accepts his fault right away? I don't. If you know, great. We say whatever and we put ourselves in the position of ilah. So I said it, therefore it's right. I'm not going to accept anything, criticism. But Islam is completely different. Akhlaq is completely different. So the reason I'm mentioning that, we have to look at it, what I am doing wrong. I cannot talk about my own sin because it's haram. So I cannot give an example. This time I committed this sin and I recovered from it. So this very good, fascinating topic in the West. They talk about all kind of sins. In Islam it's haram. But you have to find your own. Where did you go wrong? How many times you broke a promise?
Deviated.
Right? Yourself. That's what it is about. Because it's akhlaq. It's your setting. You are accountable to Allah. I'm not. I'm not for your behavior. When they make an agreement, they break. They don't honor. Because they know they did not want to. Their intention was not. Today we talk about Israel all the time. They break every promise they made. It's a classic case. But how about Muslims? How about your own self? How many agreements? First class I came and I said, this is the agreement I'm making with you. You participate and I'll deliver this. Right? We have to constantly honor. This is the agreement I'm constantly, I'm accountable for this. In Surah 227, Allah calls them fasiq, who does not honor the agreement. Number 4, when they argue, subhanAllah, this is so present everywhere. Cultural Muslims are mastermind of this. You make a little comment, say, brother, what you're saying is wrong. In Facebook, they are always making false statements. Brother, what you're saying is wrong. See them attack you. Like, so illogical. So illogical. At every level. One guy is saying that he does not want his son to get married because he still doesn't have a job. But he has income. Like, he wants him to get a better job. So I said, brother, where do you find that? Where do you find that somebody has to have a good job? My God, all hell broke loose. I'm the worst man on earth because I pointed out that it's actually sunnah. It's a good thing to get married. When my son wanted to get married when he was 17, even my brothers and sisters thought I was crazy. I said, all for it, go. Until today, I did not have to pay him anything. He was on his scholarship, he was making his money. Who am I to tell him? So, we keep in mind that we don't fall victim to that. We don't try to defend wrong with vicious argument. So, good akhlaq is opposite to munafiq. That's it's important to see. We do not want to fall into kufr and nifaq, and we want to have good akhlaq, which is opposite. When they speak the lie, truth, they speak the truth. You remember first class I said? Do you remember that? I said I'll talk about Quran, I'll talk about Hadith, I'll talk about my experience. You remember that?
Yes.
Is there any chance to make false statement? No.
No.
Because I'm stating a fact. This is what I experienced. This is what Quran said. These are a statement of facts. This is what Hadith said. If we agree or not, that's your problem. But I am only telling you that I am stating the facts that I know for sure. So stick to facts. Do not say something that you don't have any knowledge about. And repeatedly, Shaitan's first thing, remember in Surah Baqarah 169, Shaitan will order you to say things that you have no knowledge on Allah, that you have no knowledge of. Surah Baqarah 169. Ordering. So when you say things, let's not say random things. You say the truth. Yes, I have seen it, or I have not seen it. Or Quran says this, therefore I'm saying this. Hadith says this, therefore I'm saying this. Know the reference. when they make an agreement, they honor. And it's in Surah Nisa 29. When they argue to seek the truth. Sahaba, they argued viciously among each other. They would not leave. They stopped talking. Why do you think? Was it because it was hurting their ego? No. They don't want their brother to be wrong. Because it's a duty to fix them. Amr bil Ma'ruf is a duty. Nahy anil Munkar is a duty. So they were arguing. But their purpose was not to make themselves right. Their purpose was to please Allah. So, exactly opposite to Munafiq. What happens with Nifaq and Kufr, we become so insensitive to them that we develop inability to turn our heart. This book, I don't know if it is on the site. This book is, I don't know if I uploaded this book, because I might upload. It's good reading because it talks about mental health, but from Islamic perspective. There, we identified a very difficult syndrome, call it Gujarat syndrome, and quickly it means Modi, current Prime Minister, he massacred 2,000 Muslims in Gujarat. Next election, Modi got overwhelming vote from Muslims. You see, this is Bani Israel syndrome. If I have seen any Gujarati people, there might be exception. Every Gujarati people I have found hate good Muslims. It's the Karun syndrome. Karun only hated Musa. So that's why I call it Gujarat syndrome, but it could be Bani Israel syndrome. You remember when Musa saved a guy, next day he goes back and says, "Are you going to kill me?" That's how he was exposed. That's the syndrome we're talking about. And this is the most difficult disease.